vintage moment. It is caught for the win.
The Green Bay Packers are going to be world champions, NFL champions for the third straight year. What the hell's going on out here?
Jones, look at that balance. Aaron Jones, see ya. Rodgers, four-man rush, gonna float it down the seam. Adams has it, and he's in. Touchdown, Packers. 2nd and 6. Zadarius Smith. The beat goes on.
Dude, Dan, your audio's off, dude. Yeah.
Holy God. I just did that whole thing muted. Is that what the 2 messages in the private chat?
Yeah, we're like, hey, no volume, or hey, your audio.
I need you guys to be waving hands or doing something.
I didn't
man.
think you could see me. I thought I was. Oh, I should have. My bad. You look dumb.
Hold up a sign or something, dude.
Gabe, can you hear us right now? Now can you hear us?
Let's just bring Todd in.
Yeah.
Todd.
In my defense, I was pointing to my ears with both hands.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
you win.
But hey, why don't you welcome us back in, Dan, now that we've got you?
Well, welcome into Lombardi's Bar, everybody.
What a way to start the show.
Trust me, dude. That whole technical thing right there just explains how my entire day has gone so far.
Oh, yeah?
So, let's just jump right into it then, guys. How are you doing today? How's it going? Other than the mess that the start of this show has been.
I am in a just roller coaster of emotion right now. I'm pumped we got Joe Thomas on. Shout out Todd again. At the same time, people are dropping out left and right out of the NFL. You can't blame them. Like, I have no ill will or pissed off about it. It's just I'm just very nervous we're not going to have an NFL season. But then we have Joe Thomas, so it's just like this, nonstop.
Todd, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Sounds like after the day you've had. If you want to switch spots, I can bartend. You can sit down, have a few. I'm
going to need a couple more of these, dude.
I know. I brought I told you guys about this on Wednesday. No, today's Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, I don't know. The bottle of scotch I got for my buddy for his kid. I haven't taken it to him yet, so I'm gonna have to buy a new one. So I also found out I don't like scotch, but it didn't stop me from drinking the bottle.
Well, okay, let's open up with that, because we really don't have like a ton to get through other than let's talk about how awesome it was to talk to Joe Thomas. Aaron Rodgers came out in that interview the other day with The Ringer and talked about being a tequila, going 4 fingers deep of tequila on that Thursday night of draft night. And we got confirmation that he wasn't switching from his usual scotch to tequila. It was just going straight to tequila. Yeah. So when you have a terrible day, like apparently the one that I've been having, where I forget how all of the audio equipment is supposed to work, what's your go-to drink to forget all of your troubles?
Oh, I like IPAs. I'm a basic man, but no, if I'm gonna go with liquor, I was a huge Conor McGregor fan. He's still one of my favorite fighters, so I got a store by me that sells his proper 12. So I'll go for that. A little bit of whiskey.
All right, Todd.
The day that Brett Favre got traded, I walked into the bar and it had his picture and the Jets logo on the screen. And I walked behind the bar and I grabbed a bottle of Jameson and a shot glass and I sat down and the bartender walked over and looked at me and said, try to keep track. So Jameson was always, it's been a long one. We're going to get after it.
So wait a minute. Like this bar, did you know the people at this?
Yeah, I mean,
bar?
I typically kept a 2-week running tab. I would pay it on payday. I would pay my tab and then just start it up again for the next 2 weeks. So they knew I was good for it.
That's responsible of you. You only pay for it on payday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mature adult.
Yeah, that's a high functioning alcoholic adult right there. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I'll say mine if it's been a hard day or anything like that, man. It's rum and Coke for me.
Yeah.
It's got to be clear rum. I don't mess around with that spiced rum anymore. I'm off that narcotic. I don't need that. Like it's got to be clear. I don't like. I want. See, that's the thing with like a lot of like the clear liquors, like gin, like vodka, like rum. For the most part, I don't want them to taste like anything else. Like I don't want flavored stuff. I just want it to be the alcohol that is coming to me. So I want just clear rum, Coke, and I'll be set. So maybe after this beer and we run this whole thing, I might have to go have one or two. But speaking of which, why don't we go ahead and let's open up with buying around. If we want to buy around for somebody this week after training camp has basically started up this week. We kind of talk about it with Joe Thomas, but it's sort of the pseudo start to training camp. People are showing up, getting tested. So with all of that over the past week, who are you buying around for today?
I was gonna buy two, but I don't see our man in the comments. I don't see Big B down there right now. I haven't seen one thing of Jamal's the GOAT, so I don't think he's here today. So you don't get your round, Big B.
That's right.
I'm gonna have to go with I'm gonna buy a round for Devin Funchess. Like that had to be one of the hardest decisions he's had to make. He's coming into a year. He already took a year off of football. He was hurt all last season. This was his like prove it deal. He could have got a big one after this, but he made a really tough decision to take care of his family first. You can't knock the man for it, So I'll buy you a drink. I'm sure you need one right now after making that choice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's I'll second that too because I wanted to do it too. I think the whole bar, Devin Funch is a big round for him for that kind of that step up because not like kind of going off of what you said, Jimmy. I don't mean to hijack this, but
no, you're good.
Going off of what you said there. Not only was it super hard because he's already taken a year off, but he had to have been at least aware of some of the flack that the Packers organization has gotten for him being really the only addition they made to this wide receiving core. And to make that decision, you wouldn't judge him to feel selfish about it, but you also can't judge him for, wanting to prioritize his health and health of his family over everything else. Yeah. Todd, what about you? Who are you buying around for?
So I'm so sorry, Todd. I've seen Jacob Westendorf say Jimmy about 3 times in the comments. And right now, Jake, that's for you real quick. You can stop watching our show. All right. Just
He's
kidding.
And we wouldn't let him on this week.
I did think Connor was going to win, and I will get the tattoo appointment set up. I promise you that. And I take back the middle finger, Jake. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Todd.
I'm going to go with Kenny Clark, Casey About That Life. Also this fly, where'd he come from? Being left off the top 100. Every Packer fan knows that's a joke. I mean, the guy, and Joe kind of explains to us a little bit in his interview how that voting process goes. So it's, players vote on it, but it's a popularity contest. So it's a bummer to not see him on there. So I'm a buy around for Kenny Clark.
Yeah, that's a fair one too. And I think going off of that too, throw Jair Alexander on that list too. Is how, like you said, I understand how this list kind of works, but dude, like Jair he's proven himself over 2 years now to be one of the best cornerbacks in this league. And like I tweeted out a list before I realized how many they had already pre-released how many players from each team were going to be on the list. And I think I put up like 7 or 8 names, and it was everybody that was on that list, including Kenny and Jair. And someone was saying like, someone was saying like, well, if it is 6 off of that list, it has to be. I was thinking it's Preston and Jair. I thought there was no way Kenny Clark gets left off that list. But yeah, both of those.
Yeah, I didn't start. I know I did that again. I was just messing with Jake, but no, I really did not think. I did not think he was going to be off the list. I honestly thought for some weird reason when we only had 2 players left, I was like, maybe there's a small world where Rodgers is not on this list because Kenny Clark has to be. Aaron Jones, you think would be. It doesn't make it that. Yeah.
Could you imagine the revenge tour if Rodgers wasn't on the top 100?
I know.
Would you place the bet right now that we win the Super Bowl?
I would. Go ahead.
Whatever Aaron Rodgers is going to do, whatever he decides to do after that, I would say yes. If he said if he gets left off the 100 list, gets coming off of a breakup and coming off of a season where he was 1 game away from the Super Bowl, that's the holy trinity right there of ass kicking. And he's going to come back like John Wick style. I'll put him up in anybody, whatever he says, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I feel like, is there a team more so than the Packers who've been shit on this offseason with just like Aaron Jones not put on the top 10 running back list from NFL executives and scouts, and then Za'Darius just from all the stuff he got last year, Kenny Clark not being on the top 100 list. People rarely talk about Preston Smith, even though he was a double-digit sack person. It just seems like, I don't know. It's just we're still people gave a shit last year being the worst 13-3 team, but I feel like it's just carrying on to this year where everyone's just kind of like, let's shit on the Packers.
Yeah, that's I feel like that is a fair assessment.
I'm literally being assaulted here. What is wrong with this fly?
This whole show, Jesus H. We really should have just posted the interview with Joe Thomas and been done with it. Like, God damn, we did not need to have. This is just an absolute train wreck. But
I'm so sorry.
No, all of us. I started it. Are you kidding me? Like this is Jump Street, man. Yeah. Well, what else? Is there anything else in the realm of training camp getting started up, guys, that you wanted to touch on, wanted to kind of bring up and talk about before we jump into our big interview today?
Do you think we have more people besides Devin Funchess drop out or opt out?
Oh, for sure.
Do you think we have any big name people?
It's hard to tell for me. I don't know. Todd, what do you think?
I don't know. Just looking at, we've got 2 running backs that are both in contract years. We've got a lot of young receivers that, coming into their 3rd year, it's not a contract year, but it's kind of make or break for them. You look over on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's where we would see the most, the most drop off. We've got guys that have secured long-term deals there that are established. So I could see, a few guys dropping there. And also then there's Rodgers again, he's at a point in his career that if he decides to opt out, if that's the trend that the league starts to go, it would make sense for him to do that. So I wouldn't be surprised. Start Jordan Love era early.
First of all, don't say that, but
let me throw a hypothetical out at you guys before we jump into this Joe Thomas interview. Is there a point where enough players opt out of this season where Aaron Rodgers says it's not worth it this year? Like either from a talent standpoint or if it's worried about being protected or having the right kind of players around him to keep him healthy. Like, is there a point that you think it gets to that Aaron Rodgers would opt out based on who else drops out?
I could see it. I think it would take a lot of other big names people, or like it would take like Tom Brady, Mahomes, other people around the league to drop out for him to jump on board. I don't see him doing it outside of that at all. But
what about Packer players? Like let's say like right off the bat. Let's say right off the bat, just hypothetical. Bach, Adams, and Jones all either decide that they're out for this season, or something prevents them from playing this season. Do you think that that's enough to Aaron Rodgers says that I'm not going to play this year?
You just cancel the season at that point. It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a fair point, Todd. If it's getting to that point where so many big name stars are opting out, does the NFL decide just to scrap it or push back?
Big move for the XFL.
Yeah, I feel like it really depends on how baseball or the MLB is going to handle this whole Marlins thing. I think I don't know. I think it's going to get to the point the NFL would if we have a lot of big name people drop out, even though they're going to lose a lot of money. I still like, let's say Mahomes drops out and then Lamar, Rodgers, like the big name people. Do you see the NFL saying like, you know what, we'll put up a subpar league this season, and then we'll just put an asterisk by it?
I mean, I would argue if enough of those big name players are dropping out, then the NFLPA is going to be involved somehow and negotiate and say like, so many of our most influential members are saying that this isn't safe or that they don't want to do this. We need to reevaluate the contract and stuff that we just negotiated. So
I never thought of the point Todd brought up when he said like the people on a team that are more established and have like longer contracts, they'll be more willing to stay or willing to take a year off. I honestly didn't even think of it like that with anybody on the Packers. Or
I'm a genius.
I was gonna say, Todd, who knew? No, do you think
not all just looks, guys? I'm not all just looks.
Jake, this is what I said. Jacob just put like $15 billion. They'll lose a lot of money if they opt out or if they end up not having the season. But I don't know. They could also use it as a great publicity stunt and be like, you know what, guys, it's not worth the risk. We care about our players. No, they don't. But like, I don't know. I just put me on a real low right now. Yeah.
I got to throw a shout out to my uncle who apparently is in the comments watching this. It says more cap states to sign Griffin. Can we just two minutes talk about Everson Griffin? Because I was giddy as a schoolgirl when I saw that. And I literally had a dream this morning. I woke up, like 5, 6 in the morning, went back to sleep, and I had like one of those small, like quick hitter dreams. You know what I mean? Where like, it's just like a 5-second like thing. And you wake up thinking that it just happened. I literally had the dream that like I woke up to the notification on my phone that the Packers signed Everson Griffin for deal that's worth and I woke up and I instantly grabbed my phone. I looked at it. I'm like, oh no, it's just the Chase Bank telling me my balance is low. Great, like thanks. I needed that. No, I am so jazzed about this, and I want it bad, guys. I don't know about you.
Our defensive line would be ridiculous if we had Clark, Smith brothers, Griffin, Gary on there. Like you have Smith and Gary who can just move around wherever you want on that offensive or that defensive line. Our defense would be stacked. And even last year, I thought it was I would get more excited. This is the first time in a while as a Packer fan. I got a little more excited when I saw the defense on the field because we just had so many playmakers. You add Griffin to that, and who knows what the hell is going to happen.
Yeah.
It would be. Would it be too much fun? Is that possible?
It might be illegal.
That'd be great.
It might be a Geneva convention or something. Yeah, there's international laws against it. All right, I think we've BS'd enough. We've more dominated.
Give the people what they want.
Guys. Yeah. Let's give the people what they want. Todd, do you want to give us give the people sort of some background on this at all, or tell people how it kind of came about? Because I feel like that is like half of the story.
Honestly, I mean, it was right place, right time. Joe's a great guy. I met with him last week and just kind of in passing. It was last Thursday, and so I told him that on we recorded our first podcast on Wednesday night, and he kind of jokingly said as we were parting ways, hey, now that we're both in the media, maybe we'll run into each other. And I said, anytime you want to come on the show, feel free. We've always got a stool open for you at the bar. And he hit me up and wanted to come on and talk. So awesome guy, just couldn't thank him more. We couldn't appreciate him stopping by anymore. And it, just fantastic. It was awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, without further ado, let's pray. Can we do a cheers, a drink, or something to the technology gods that we have this figured out? I've spent all day figuring this out, and it's been working. But holy God, whatever just happened in the last 20 minutes really makes me doubt everything I've ever done in my life. So cheers here to the technology gods. Let's make sure that this works and we can hear and see this wonderful interview that we did with Joe Thomas. I hope you guys enjoy it.
Don't judge my babbling.
Okay, so the audio is really not working. Are you guys BSing me here? Because I am going to kill somebody. Is it really not working? Because it's coming through on my end. Dear Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Put your mic next to it. Unmute your mic when you share the video and just put your mic next to it.
All right, hold on one sec. I'm going to try this again.
We'll figure it out.
Oh my God. I swear to God, the interview is completely worth it, everybody. I swear it's worth it. All right.
You can hear me stumble over my words about Elton Jenkins. It's real good.
Okay, hold on. So why don't you guys talk about something? Vamp for me while I get this going here. Talk about something.
The real shitty part about this interview, I'll start there, Todd, is that now we have nowhere else to go. How do we top a future Hall of Famer, a first ballot Hall of Famer?
Fair. That's a fair point.
You fucked us up from the start.
Like I said to Kevin King, we only interview sure thing lock first ballot Hall of Famers. Is that true. A coincidence? We don't know. Okay. So
it's a good point.
It's not going to hurt anybody by coming on, hanging out with us. First ballot Hall of Fame. That's how
it probably helps your road to Canton. I'm pretty sure on his shrine they'll put Cleveland Brown, and then under it, Lombardi's Bar.
Yeah, guest on Lombardi's Bar.
Yeah.
We have already got one person that noticed down there, Bobby Miller, in the comments. Shout out Riverdale High School.
Right. Yeah, that'll come up.
Joe Rock in my high school alma mater football shirt coming into the show.
All right. I'm trying this again.
Sounds good. I'll think of topics in case it fucks up.
Thank you. That's all I'm looking for, buddy. All right, let's try this again. Here we go. Well, everybody, here at Lombardi, we had our first guest last week. It was Jacob Westendorf, but I think someone equally, you could maybe argue a bigger name than Jacob Westendorf is this guy here. You've seen him play in the NFL. He's a 10-time Pro Bowler, 9-time All-Pro, 2010 All-Decade team. He's in the Browns Ring of Honor, and soon this guy's going to be wearing a gold jacket from Canton, Ohio. That's the one and only Joe Thomas. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here at Lombardi's Bar today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys. And I appreciate you throwing up my Twitter handle on there. Your technology is only surpassed by your beauty.
I'm gonna put that's the top of my resume now.
We were going to ask for compliments and endorsements at the end of it, but I guess we can start out now.
He just nailed it, man. That's why he's a pro. Well, Joe, we want to grab you here for a little bit to talk football and everything else, but before we get into that, the first thing that I thought of when I heard that we were going to have you on to talk is, and I know Jimmy is the same way. We wanted to at least talk a second about the Titan games because love that show. It's so much fun to watch. And like you arguably you were probably the best Titan that Dwayne Johnson picked, like did the best out of all of them. You had an amazing run. Just tell us a little bit about the experience. What's it like going there for taping? Like how long are you there in between takes? And then like you only did the mountain. So like, what was like, were you hoping to do any of the other stuff, or are you glad that you only had to tackle the mountain?
Yeah, I'll try to check off all those things on the list of questions you answered.
I'm trying to get 20 Titan Games questions into one.
3 minutes. It was super intense. It was really incredible being able to meet Dwayne Johnson. Obviously, he's the biggest Hollywood star in the world right now. I mean, he's putting out hit after hit. Everybody loves him. My mom loves him. My grandma loves him. My kids love him. And Moana. Like, he is the man, and when you get to meet him in person, he lives up to the billing. He is just larger than life, and he was a lot of fun to work with. He was really, really good to all of us. Like, he has no reason to stick around and shoot the breeze with all of us competitors, but he did, and it was really cool to see that and trying to make those connections with us as competitors. But it was hard. I mean, when they tried to pretend like this was professional athletes versus regular Joes, I don't think that really was fully actually telling what the true details of the Titan Games were, because we were basically competing in CrossFit type obstacle course games. And we were competing against mostly professional CrossFitters. And we, as professional athletes or former professional athletes, we're professional athletes because we're good at one very unique and specific sport. Like, if you're a boxer, you're really good at punching. I'm an offensive lineman. I'm good at blocking. Like, doing CrossFit obstacle courses is not in our wheelhouse at all. And so I was happy that I just put forth good effort and, won a few, ended up losing before the finals, but all those other pros were a joke. They got smoked. They got blown out of the water right from the beginning. And it was funny, because we would film 2 or 3 shows a day. That's part of why it was so intense. It's because I was there for a week and we filmed like 4 shows, and I think the whole thing got filmed in like 3 weeks, and then they split it up and, cut it up how they want. But after all the pros went the very first time around, I was the only one that won out of 8 of us. And I remember looking over at Dwayne Johnson as the pros are getting smashed too. Like, it wasn't close. There was no photo finishes among the pros except for me. And I remember looking over at Dwayne, and I could see it on his face. He was like, we spent all this money bringing all these chumps here, and we're not even going to have a show because all you guys are going to lose before it even gets started. So I felt like I really had a big responsibility for the professional athletes to be able to stand up and at least win a few so that DJ doesn't lose all his investment trying to get us out there. So, but in the end, it was a really good experience for me. It's opened up a lot of doors moving forward, and it was really fun now that it's all over, because when we were doing it, it was brutal, and my body felt like week 14 of training camp. It was terrible.
All right, you and Dwayne Johnson one-on-one right now. You shutting him down?
No doubt. Dwayne, he could still probably body slam me, but he never was better than me on the football field, even when he was in his prime.
I don't know. I don't think he
had the look.
Tested, so
he's gonna win any arm wrestling contest, any bicep curl contest, because his arms are bigger than my thighs. But when it comes to like a very specific skill like football, I think I still got him.
Oh, for sure.
So speaking of football, obviously this is going to be a little bit weird season here with COVID and everything else going on. What's the weirdest season you ever had kind of going into it? Was it replacement refs or a lockout, or just maybe a teammate that, you had a few characters come through Cleveland while you were there?
So there's really only 2 seasons that even scratch the surface of the craziness that we're about to embark on, because, as you know, professional football is a well-oiled machine. They've been going for 100 years, and they know how every little detail works. The coaches have been doing it forever, so there's very few stones that are left unturned before you go into a season. So, I mean, your schedule is down to the minute from the moment you walk into training camp through potentially going to the Super Bowl. And so to have to kind of play, adapt, and improvise A&I right now through the beginning part and probably most of this season is really going to be unique for those players. For me, replacement refs was a little bit interesting, but we only had replacement refs for a short stint. And then from what I remember, the regular refs came back. And actually, I was part of the first game where the regular refs were back. We played Thursday night in Baltimore. And I remember Gene Steratore was the official, and he's one of the great NFL officials. And I remember the players were going up and like hugging him before the game started because they were so happy to see the regular refs come back, because as everybody remembers, the replacement refs didn't do quite as good of a job as the regular ones did. But the lockout year was interesting because we lost the off season. So most guys went back home and worked out. I went to Madison and trained at the University of Wisconsin. But once you voted for the collective bargaining agreement, we started training camp on time, and then everything was kind of normal from that point on. But this is just going to be totally bananas. I mean, I just got off a conference call with Browns ownership because I was supposed to be a color analyst for all of their preseason games, and obviously preseason for the NFL just got canceled. So now I'm going to be potentially doing color commentary on walkthrough practices and inter-squad scrimmages in August and the beginning of September, if those even happen. Like, that's the crazy thing in all of this is we hope that things look like football and there's going to be a season, but all you got to do is look at what's already happening in baseball. Like, the Marlins had a bunch of guys test positive, and now they're trying to figure out, do you just replace those guys and have business as usual? But imagine if going into the season, God forbid, not the Browns or the Packers, let's say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady and his starting offensive line all get COVID. Do you just not play them for like 2 or 3 weeks? Or do you just not have that team play until their regular starters are back? So it's definitely going to be interesting for sure. And I can't imagine ever having an NFL season that looks anything like this.
Do you think to have a season right now that like you already mentioned, the MLB is kind of showing it might not be possible unless you have bubble cities? Do you think it is do you think they'll be able to run it without somehow converting to bubble cities?
So baseball is different because it's a lot easier to trade a player or put a player in there in that position. You know, okay, I'm batting third. Like, that looks the same whether I'm in Atlanta or I'm in Philly, right? Like, batting third, like the coach may have a slightly different strategy. Okay, bunt or hit it. I don't know. I'm not a baseball guy, but it's fairly easy to just kind of plug and play a baseball guy. But in football, you kind of rely on each other so much more, and you have to know the offense to be able to go out there. And so it's not going to be quite as easy in football, like when guys are testing positive and have to sit out, to just replace them. And so I think that's going to be the big question is, what do you do? Like, okay, the bottom of your roster or a backup tight end or even a starter, like a guard on the offensive line who maybe is not your best player on the offensive line, like, you can replace him fairly easily. But if you've got like the 5 offensive linemen, they're touching and spitting and snotting on each other on every play. Like, there's a good chance if one of those tests positive, they'll all test positive. So are you willing to go into a game? Like, let's say Friday shows up and all of a sudden your starting offensive line tests positive. Are you willing to go into the game and just swap out an entire offensive line the day before a game and still put your $500 million quarterback back there from the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes? Like, if I'm Andy Reid, I'm not feeling really good about that situation. Maybe I sit the quarterback out until my offensive line is back. So it's a lot of questions out there still, a lot of interest, but that's could be what makes this season so interesting and the fans so intrigued by every little detail, because we're used to the regular drama from a football season, but the drama for a COVID season is going to be times 10.
I'm not lifting up my arms at all during this anymore, seeing as your biceps twice in a row now.
And the thing is, like, the Rock, I'm like here. The Rock is like up here. He doubles me.
So Joe, as we kind of are starting what I guess we could call training camp, like, people are reporting and we're not sure what it's going to look like or how it's going to play out. But as we get into this training camp mode, for you and your career, what was do you have a favorite like training camp memory, a favorite moment, or a favorite part of training camp that always kind of stuck with you?
My first training camp was probably the most memorable one. And I think most rookies would say that, because you come in, you know, they tell you to keep your eyes open and your mouth shut. Rookies should be seen and not heard. And you're trying to just soak in all that information from all the vets that have been around a long time. And you're going from in college when you're the old man who's been around 4 or 5 years, which seems like an eternity to now. In the NFL, you're playing with guys that could be around for 15, 16 plus NFL seasons. I remember my rookie season walking into the locker room, and we had a guy named Ted Washington, who you may or may not recognize. He played 20 NFL seasons, I think, and my rookie season was his 20th. I think he was like 40 or 41. He was a defensive tackle. Great big fat guy. He was well over 400 pounds. And I remember as a rookie, I reached my hand out when I walked into the locker room. Hey, Ted, my name's Joe Thomas. The Browns just drafted me. Nice to meet you. And he looks at me. He's like, rookies can't touch me. Get the fuck out of my face. And he just kept walking. And I was like, sorry, sir. And I looked it up and I was like, Ted Washington, boy, that guy's a real dick. And I looked back. And the guy started in the NFL his rookie season when I was 3 years old. I was 21 at the time, or 22. And my man had started in the NFL when I was 3 years old. And so I was like, wow, this really is a different ball game. This is men and boys, and we're all playing on the same team. So it's definitely an interesting moment for a rookie to stand in the locker room where there is such a great disparity in talent, ability, age, experience, and you're just trying to soak all that in. And every minute feels like it's an hour because there's just so many new things happening around you.
This is kind of I didn't have this one planned, but just thinking of like rookies coming in and playing. So for the Packers, we had a new left guard last year with Elton Jenkins coming in and not giving up a single sack the entire season. As a fan, that's super impressive to me. Like, is that common around like offensive linemen? I guess I'm not really sure. He's like my new Lord and Savior. So that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. I will say it's very uncommon. Sacks are a weird thing because if you're blocking in a system like Matt LaFleur's system, where it's a lot of wide zone, it's a lot of play action, you don't have as much pressure of giving up a sack as you would if you were in a regular drop back system where the quarterback's going to get the ball, he's going to stand back in one spot, and he's going to kind of throw the ball over the field like your typical pro style offense used to be maybe 5 or 10 years ago. So while it is impressive, it's not as unheard of in the type of system that Matt LaFleur plays in. If you told me that, let's say 5 years ago, I'm trying to think what would be a really, Bruce Arians' system. That's a lot of stand back there and throw the football like with Jameis Winston last year. If you told me one of those guys gave up 0 sacks, I would be really impressed because it's really hard as an offensive lineman to block somebody one-on-one for a quarterback that drops back and throws the ball from the pocket a lot. When you've got a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who's very mobile, he can get out of sacks. They run a lot of play action, a lot of bootleg. There's not as much one-on-one drop back pass, and so you're not exposed as often, but still you don't want to take anything away from the guy. He had a great season, but he's also playing next to, in my opinion, the best pass blocking left tackle in the NFL right now in David Bakhtiari. So that helps also. When you put there's a lot of synergy on the offensive line, and playing next to good players, it raises the level of yourself. Just like playing next to doggy doo-doo, you're going to look a little bit more like doo-doo as well.
Yeah. So is David Bakhtiari being ranked yesterday the 62nd best player on the top 100? Is that too low then? Because me as a Packer fan, I was like, he should be way higher than 62nd.
I agree. You know, the NFL top 100, it's a popularity contest among among NFL players, because the way the voting goes is somebody from the NFL Network shows up in your cafeteria and gives you a piece of paper and says, write the 25 best NFL players down on the list. And so, of course, you're going to get a lot of quarterbacks, and it becomes a name recognition thing. But in the end, it's hard to compare apples and oranges. How do you compare David Bakhtiari to Tom Brady or to Von Miller? Those are not people that are playing the same position. So you're trying to, even if you were doing this in some type of fair, even-handed evaluation method, how do you determine the pass blocking that David Bakhtiari does versus the throwing that Tom Brady does? They're different skill sets. You're asking them to do different things, but I would still say that I would like to see David a lot higher, because in my opinion, he's a top 5 offensive lineman in the NFL, and he's the best pass blocker. So clearly, if you value left tackle, you've got to say that he's probably at least a top 25 guy in the NFL.
So, Joe, kind of looking at your career a little bit, I think the thing that always stuck out with me was your snap streak record. Let me just confirm: 10,363 consecutive snaps in a row. Were you, as a player, were you kind of aware at all of the snap streak record? Like, I'm sure you kind of like have in the back of your head, like, I haven't missed any games, but like the snap record, is that in your head at all? And was there ever a point that you kind of like were like it came into your mind that maybe this needs to end, or like I was the closest to ending my streak at this point?
I didn't think about my snap streak until about year 6 or 7. I knew that I hadn't missed a play because I knew I never got injured. I never had to come out. I never had a shoelace break. Like I knew that. And actually, when I think back to my football career, I only had to come off the field 2 times in my entire career going back to 7th grade. And that includes like shoe falling off, going to the bathroom, like kissing my girlfriend at prom night, all those things that could have happened. Like I never missed, except for when I tore my ACL in college, my junior year playing defense, came out. And then I came out in my last season when I tore my tricep tendon. And so I was conscious of it, but I didn't know it really was a thing until people started asking me about it around like year 6 or 7. And then our PR department kind of started tracking it and started doing the research about, hey, did anybody else ever have a big streak like this? And found out that no, they didn't. And so the closest I ever came to missing a game or missing a snap was, I think it was probably like year 6 or 7. This was before I really had thought about the streak very much, but I tore my lateral collateral ligament in my left knee. Coincidentally, we were playing at the Steelers. It was week 17 and I was stretching and I just used a little too much muscle on my stretch and I tore my LCL, of which the doctor told me it's impossible. You can't do that. You have to put like 2,000 pounds of force through that ligament to tear it. I'm like, no, it really feels like it's torn. He's like, you can't do that stretching. You have to have like an army of bodies fall on it. Well, thankfully, after the game, we MRI'd it and he told me, yeah, you did tear your LCL. And if I would have known that in the game, I wouldn't have let you go back in there. But because you told me it was a stretching injury, I thought you were fine. So I ended up having to rehab that for like 3.5 weeks. And I was lucky because it was about a 3 or 4 week injury, no surgery required. And then I was able to get back on the field and play in the Pro Bowl that season. I was a little bit hobbled up and I wore a knee brace, but I was okay. And by the next season, I was fine. But the most nervous I ever got was as I was getting close to 10,000, because that was kind of the big milestone in my 11th season. I remember thinking like, holy crap. And I used to have these dreams going into like my game where I had that 10,000 snap, was like, what happens if my shoe does fall off? Or like something weird happens where the ref is going to make me come out of the game because I got blood on me, or, something just goofy. And I kept thinking to myself, like, would I take a timeout and like waste one of my team's timeout so that I didn't miss my snap streak so I could still try to get to 10,000? And then I would have kind of like that dream people would have about, waking up and being late for a test. Like a lot of times I had that dream once I was done with college. Like I had that dream that I woke up and I had missed the bus going to the stadium and I like missed the beginning of the game. So I missed my snap streak. So, but once I got the streak, then I really didn't think about it. But then at that point, it was like, how does this end? That was something that kept going through my head. Like, all right, every time I go out there and get another snap, I know I'm lengthening my record, kind of like Cal Ripken after he set the record in baseball. He ended up just taking a day off because he felt that emotionally, like thinking about it all the time was distracting him from playing baseball. And it was almost the same thing with me in football. Like just having that over my head and thinking about it was almost a relief when I did finally tear my tricep and didn't have to think about it anymore.
Nice.
Who do you hate most out of the division? Ravens, Steelers, or Bengals?
So I would say the Ravens, because we always had a lot more dirty play between the two of us. We actually had a lot of Ravens players that came to the Browns, like Jamal Lewis when I was a younger player was one guy. And we had a number of other guys that I just escaping my mind right now thinking of the name, but there was a lot more bad blood, I feel like, between us two. Whereas versus the Steelers, it was always the same group of guys, and we always played hard and it was always physical, but there was a lot more mutual respect, I feel like, between the two teams. And so I think that the hate a lot of times comes out in football when there's like dirty player, you feel like disrespect. And certainly that was the case when the Browns were playing the Ravens.
Who did you love to play? Like, who was your favorite team or favorite person to go up against?
I loved going against Dwight Freeney because I loved going against guys that I could do a good job blocking. However, I knew the challenge was going to be really great, so I was going to have to be at my absolute best. But I knew if I was at my best, I would have a good game and it would get recognized. And because not many people would be able to handle Dwight Freeney, but if you go out and you have a good game against him, like, you actually get recognized on the offensive line, which is something that almost never happens unless you do something bad.
That's a good point.
That's true. So you guys, obviously, everybody kind of knows the Browns have had a long string of starting quarterbacks coming through there. How does your play differ from quarterback to quarterback? Is that, we kind of touched on the system earlier. There's a certain style that the system goes through, but how does that change your game prep?
It's going to change a lot from a standpoint of when Derek Anderson was my quarterback, my rookie season, he was not a mobile guy. So I knew he was going to be standing exactly 8 yards behind the center, and he was probably going to throw the ball on time. And for the most part, I knew exactly where I needed to keep my guy away from. Whereas if I played for Johnny Manziel, if he was back there, who knows where he was going to be? Like, the play was structured for him to be here, but he was liable to go, and even if the play wasn't breaking down, break the pocket, try to get outside, escape, throw the football down the field. And so you got to know that, like, if my guy turns and runs, I got to go run with him because I can't see where the ball is. And I've got to block basically until my guy just starts running down the field. And I'm assuming that he's running towards the football or the ball is completed, and I got to just jog with him. You always would say that when you're blocking for a guy like a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers, follow your man and try to end the play between your man and where the ball is or where you think the ball is, and block through the breath of the whistle. That's the best you can do. And if he turns up in a spot where he's not supposed to, that's kind of on him.
Well, Joe, I know you got to get out of here, so we'll get you out on one final thing here as we move into such a unique season for the NFL in the preseason. What's a message that you would give to rookies coming into this year?
I would say that if you're a rookie, you're going to need to spend twice as much time in the film room, as twice as much time, if you possibly can, meeting with your coach, studying your playbook, because they're so far behind the eight ball right now, already missing the whole offseason, missing training camp, which is the time where you really get your most growth and your most learning in. They're not getting any preseason. And so their learning curve, which is already steep, is going to be even steeper. And I don't know if you can make that up, but the best way that you can try to make it up is just spending all that much more time in the meeting room, watching film, watching your playbook on your iPad. Do anything you can to try to catch up.
Awesome.
He's Joe Thomas, one of the best to ever do it. Joe, is there anything that you want to plug while you're here with us, where people can find you on social media? Or I know you've got the podcast with Andrew Hawkins as well. Anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, you can catch me on the Tomahawk Show anywhere you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, wherever. Hopefully we'll have a new season here coming up when the football season starts. Catch me on NFL Network if we have Thursday Night Football this year, which is where I usually post myself up. And you can catch me on Twitter at JoeThomas73. And hopefully we'll be talking football very shortly.
Awesome. Joe Thomas, can't speak enough for how much we enjoyed this. And I can think it's safe to say that you always have a spot here at Lombardi's Bar. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, guys. Fill me up with a couple Busch Lights at Lombardi's Bar. Or maybe it's a Miller Lite being the Wisconsin bar.
We'll see you guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, how freaking cool was that? I was sitting here watching it. We've already done it, and I still couldn't believe that we got to do it.
I know. Todd, if I was in Madison right now, I'd kiss you on the mouth.
I told you already. I'm not going to stop you.
Well,
Yeah. I told my
That's,
wife, I was like, hey, just by the way, I'm kissing Todd. She was cool with it. She
Todd's
didn't count
your
it.
freebie.
So what?
Todd's your one freebie.
Jimmy's-
Everybody
Jimmy's
in couple
hall
gets
pass.
one freebie. Todd's
Yeah.
your freebie.
He's my one celebrity I can kiss. I pick Todd.
Well, like guys, what's your reaction? Like, I mean, going back and watching that again, like, what was your reaction to it? Like everything that he was saying, like we really didn't break down much of what he was really getting into after that interview, except for us gushing over how cool it was that we got to talk to Joe Thomas yesterday.
Yeah.
So, like all that he said, like everything, like what stuck out to you the most out of what Joe said?
Todd, this was your man. I'll let you start.
Really, it was kind of the way that the NFL, top 100 list goes out. I think just because that's topical right now. But how they just have that popularity contest. They hand out, the pieces of paper and go, okay, what do you think? Who's your top 25? And they compile the list from that. That definitely helps kind of explain a little bit more where we get some of these weird rankings on that from. That and the Ted Washington story was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say the Ted Washington story for me is tops.
I know. I think we all kind of picked that one because that's what I was going to say too. Is like you have two different kind of veterans that are like, fuck rookies, no, or like I'll help you out. And I'm sure eventually he warmed up to Joe and everything like that. But
him gush over The Rock.
I don't know.
Like, that just tells you how big and how cool The Rock is. That somebody like Joe Thomas is just like,
yeah,
it was incredible. The Rock was there. Like,
yeah. Or when he talked about how big his biceps were, I was like, but Joe, your biceps are like this big. Like, come on, man. It's wild, dude. I can't say enough that he was so fun to talk with. It honestly felt like I was talking to someone I just met at the bar that was just cool to shoot the shit with. Like, you would never expect he was probably the best offensive tackle, even offensive lineman to ever play the game. He just super humble, super cool. He might be my new man crush. I don't know.
Yeah,
Conor McGregor,
for real. Well, thank you again to Joe Thomas for taking the time to talk with us here at Lombardi's Bar. And now, officially, everyone else in the NFL is on notice. This is the show to be on. This is the place to be. Lombardi's Bar is the place to be. Everyone is on notice. You're all getting DM slid into. Just be prepared for it. Guys, oh yeah, exactly. As we wrap up, guys, is there anything that you personally want to touch on or finish up with or plug? Anything you want to do before we wrap up here?
I have my interview with Raven Green was out on was maybe last Friday. So I post articles, so I honestly forget the day, but my interview out with Raven Green's the article's out on Packer Report. You can find it. I'll have my interview with Josiah DeGuerra out within the next couple days. Try to find that. And then besides that, that's about it. Yeah, follow me on Twitter.
That's
all my articles. You'll see my beautiful daughter. Just posted a video of her. I'm gonna I'll have a few more scotches, maybe drunk text some players. It'll be great.
Probably
living the dream.
Probably keep hitting on me as well, and I'm fine with that.
Joe Thomas is gonna get drunk and text you, Todd. That's how it's gonna work.
It's gonna happen. I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that day to happen. Todd, what about you?
I've got we're gonna do a running back breakdown this week. Try and figure out how that situation's gonna play out in camp. Obviously, got a few guys behind Aaron Jones. They're battling for it. That'll be out Friday morning on GameOnWI.com. And other than that, I think if anybody gets a hold of Devin Funchess, please let him know. Don't sign 17 at the end of a statement saying that you're not going to be playing this year, because I know my heart dropped. As soon as I saw it, I knew what that message was going to be about when I was like, family first. And I was like, okay, somebody's not in. And then I looked down and saw the big capital D in his signature and 17. And I was like, not Devontae, not cousin Devontae. So let's. If anybody out there haven't, I know Devin probably watches. So if you're watching Devin, stop signing 17. I'd appreciate it.
And come on to Lombardi's Bar, Devin.
And
we'd love for you to be on here and talk
for
with
you.
us.
This is coronavirus free. You can come on the show and not have to worry about anything.
No mask required here, baby.
Coronavirus is the least of your worries when you come into Lombardi's Bar.
Yeah, exactly. You saw all the technical crap. You might not be able to talk in Lombardi's Bar, but you're not going to get a virus. That's for sure. But then obviously this as well. We've got this starting up here. This is the thing now. We're getting into the heat of things, and I don't know, Jimmy. We've got some things coming up here, don't we? Or do you want to tell people yet, or do you want to just leave this very vague for next week?
Oh, it's we'll leave it vague. We got we got some personalities coming on the show. Yeah, we got some personalities, maybe some radio people, maybe some players. No, it's gonna be good, man. And this isn't just because I'm on the show, but we have a real good thing here, and I think this Lombardi's Bar is gonna be the next hot spot to go to. Move over New York clubs and LA strip clubs and the Miami place or the Orlando place that Lou Williams went to for the
Atlanta. It was Magic City.
Magic City.
Oh, it was Atlanta? Yeah, Magic City.
Apparently the best there in Atlanta.
You can't blame him. He was already you were already out of the bubble. You might as well do what you got to do, man.
Lemon pepper barbecue. Get the Lou Williams special.
Yeah, at least he got that. It's not like he got just like, I don't know, super sweet stuff.
I mean, at least he wasn't going to like B-dubs on a Thursday for like the double, the BOGO stuff. Like he had a spot and he went to his spot. So all respect, Lou Williams. Yeah. Well, boys, until next time, stay safe. And as always, cheers and go Pack Go.
I'll miss you guys 1 week from now.
You bet.